So yesterday I came down here by the creek and I walked through that gate and I was just able to walk down to where the river is. But I cannot do that anymore. Now, you can see the water. I could only get that far. And those trees in the background, the very far background, is where the river is. So it has already come up a lot since around 4:30 yesterday when I was here just having a little bit of a spy. I'm standing on the edge of the road and the water is getting very close. And at this end, it's even closer. And this is the end. Right at that roundabout is where you have to turn in to go to my street. So this part of the river, which is the closest bit to me, is now having the fences and the gates being covered with water. I was down here just having a little bit of a spy at what's going on, and all of a sudden I hear, "Hey, trouble!" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And it was my neighbour. And I told him that I'm a little bit scared. And he said, "Nah, don't worry about it. It has to get up through the bank, across the road, through a whole set of houses, and then to us, and we're on a little bit of a hill, so we should be right, and the worst that would happen is that we're just blocked in and we can't go into town." So I was like, okay, but it still didn't make me feel any better because I'm still scared. It is amazing how many people are out just having a bit of a spy at what's going on. I don't think I've ever seen this many people just walking along the roads or looking at the river. And the amount of parked cars that are all over the place is just unbelievable. Since where I live, it's usually a pretty quiet area. Sort of, you get your general cars and stuff coming through, but that's about it. Like, there's not a lot going on at all. So I think this is really stirring everybody up a bit. They're now putting up local traffic only signs. Wow, what a day. After some sort of procrastinating for a lot of today, when I got to halfway through the afternoon, one of my lovely friends came over with her husband and we all went down to get some sandbags. So after we got the sandbags and we went back to my house, and pretty much waiting there to greet us was the fire department saying evacuate right now. So the decision was made. I was officially evacuating at that point. Lovely people making sandbags. Chop, chop. Chucking in the sandbags. We got the front of my house sandbagged. Well, actually, I didn't do anything because I'm a weakling and I could hardly even move the bag. So my friend and her husband did all of the sandbagging for me. So we put all of my little precious treasures either into my car or up on to tables or anything that was high, just to try and keep them off the floor as much as possible. And then I packed my bags, which I think I did really badly because I wasn't really concentrating. and I was kind of just chucking in whatever without even really thinking of it. So that will be interesting in the next few days to see how I go with whatever items it is that I've packed that I can get dressed in, really. As we were leaving, the water had officially entered the road and they were already blocking off parts of my access road that is needed to get to my house. So I think I really did get out in time, even though I didn't really want to, but I do know that it is for the best. It was the best decision, but it was just hard leaving my house and knowing that everything that is there that I've worked so hard for and just everything could be gone. But fingers crossed, the water only just makes it to my street and not actually onto my property, but we'll have to see what happens in the next few days because the river isn't meant to peak until Tuesday, and at the moment it is only Saturday evening, so we've still got a little while to go. Thanks to my lovely friend who's been so helpful to me through this entire experience today, I am now at her property, which is about half an hour or so away from where I live, basically in the middle of nowhere in her caravan. So I've pretty much got my own little pad going on here, which is very nice, and it is a very nice caravan because it is absolutely brand new. So I'm feeling a bit special sort of being able to stay here, and I feel very privileged that I have such a lovely friend who was able to help me. And stay tuned to more of Brooke versus the Floods adventures. Well, I must say goodnight because it is hours past my usual bedtime and I am absolutely exhausted from all of the events from today. So I bid you good night.
Flowage here.
Doing a bit of a walk on a road to see if we can get the car through or not. Cyclone water. Walking down random roads in the middle of nowhere. Doing a bit of sort of retail therapy, looking in some strange antique shop that is just mainly full of army gear. So if I ever need to join the army, I know where to get my stuff from. So after a bit of a busy day, but I'm glad that it was busy because it kept me distracted from thinking about the looming disaster that I keep thinking is going to happen to my house. But I still have some hope that it will be okay. I just won't know. And the flood isn't set to peak until tomorrow at this stage. So it's all still a waiting game. So I'm just going for a bit of a little country walk down the road where my friend's house is that I'm staying at. And it's very refreshing and very lovely. Distraction is what I need at the moment. And tomorrow I'm meant to be going to work. So physically going to work is not going to happen considering where I live and where I work. The entire town is now cut off from any form of civilization. So that's not going to happen. So I might have to set up a second office here at my friend's house, and we can be the work hub from out here in the middle of the country. Well, what a day today has been. So it just started off as normal, I guess, whatever my current normal is. And throughout the day, I pretty much was just getting a little bit antsy because I did not know what was happening with my house and if it was even standing anymore. So I decided that I would join a Facebook group that I discovered that is just for the estate that I live in. So off I go, join that. Then I had to wait for them to approve me to be a member. And as soon as I did that, I just wrote this really random message saying, can anybody please give me an update about blah street? And within about a few minutes, somebody had sent me a video of just our street. And the video right at the very end showed my house, and there it was, and there's water all over the road and water up the driveway a little bit, but that's it. Then it stopped, and there was nothing even sort of that close to my house at all. The relief that I felt was just unbelievable. I didn't even know what to do with myself, really. And then maybe about an hour later, another person just sends me a photo. But this time it turned out that it was the lady across the road, who I didn't even know what her last name was. I only recognised her first name. And she sent me a picture from her house of my house, directly straight in front of her house. And there it was, my house is fine from what I could see. So that brought me even more joy and happiness and relief, and the emotions that I felt were just, I haven't ever really felt those before. It was just something obviously I've never experienced before, but yeah, that was a big one. So hopefully tonight I'm able to have a good night's sleep, knowing that there's not massive disaster lurking for me when I return home. Now, even though the flood has supposedly reached its peak and the waters are slowly going down, and slowly I mean like 1 millimetre an hour, I still have no idea when I'll be able to get home, because I don't know how much the water has to disappear before they allow people back, or if they just let you come back when the water has sort of gone off the roads and it's safe to access everything. So I might be here in my friend's caravan for a little while longer, but that's okay, because I know that there's nothing too bad waiting for me when I get home, and that's really all that I can ask for. So good night for now, and I will give another update tomorrow. So another adventurous day today. After work, my friend and I decided that we would see if we could take a little bit of a risk and see if we are able to get into the town, because we both needed a few items from the shops because things were starting to run out. So that was all fine, and we did manage to make it very safely into the town without coming across any puddles at all. So it turns out that one whole side of the town is completely fine on one side of the highway, and then it's the other side that has all of the massive big issues. So as long as we stayed on the good side, then we pretty much could travel around wherever we wanted to. I was really surprised when we went into the supermarket, because all over the news, all that I've been hearing is there's nothing left on the shelves, people are panic buying, it's just absolutely crazy, and to stay away if you can. But when we went there, it was fine. There wasn't that many people, and there was still plenty of food and produce and meat and everything still on the shelves. So I don't know what everyone was talking about. And then the best bit out of the trip was I ran into my next door neighbour while I was at the supermarket, and he confirmed with me that there is no access in and out of where I live except for if you have a four-wheel drive. No other cars can really get through, even though some are trying and being really stupid and driving through it anyway. So he told me that our estate is pretty much all dried up now. So that surprised me, because it's only really been a full day since there was still the streets absolutely covered in water still. And yes, he said it's all completely dry. It's just the entrances to where we can come in and out that they're the problem. They're the ones that have still got all the water that's quite dangerous. I did mention to him that I will need to get in there at some stage towards the end of the week, because I'll run out of medication by then and I'll need to get more supplies. And he so kindly offered that he would come and get me, or I could meet him somewhere in the town, and then he would drive me into my house. I could pick up my stuff and then he'd drive me out again. So we did organise that, how that will happen when the time comes if I do need that. I was also able to find out that the entire estate has no flood damage to it at all. None of the water managed to reach into any of the houses, and even all of our backyards are fine. So that was great news that I was so pleased to hear, because I was still a little bit worried about how the backyard had fared through all of this, because I hadn't really seen any mention of people's backyards. So now I know they're all good. So now I'll just wait another 2 days, maybe until Thursday, just to see if the water at the entrances of where I can get into my estate, if they clear. If they can, then I'll just make my own way in there when I can. But if not, then I probably won't risk it much past Thursday, and we'll get my neighbour to help me, because Thursday there is meant to be more rain that continues up for a couple of days. So I don't want to take any risks in that rain creating havoc once again and causing everything to get all flooded once again, and then having to wait another week to be able to fix up everything. So that's the plan for now, and I'll just update every day and keep this little story time going. Well, there's not really a lot to report today, because nothing's really happened and it's been kind of a slow day. But I did find out that the river is now down to 11.5 metres, which means it's gone down just over 1 metre in a day and a bit, I think it is. So things are making progress, and some of the access roads that I need to be able to get into my property, you can start to see the white lines on the road, whereas you couldn't see those before. So that means that the water is going down in those parts. I'm really hoping to be able to get home tomorrow, even if it is just to go and pick up some more supplies and then take off again, because I'm still a little bit nervous about the rain that is predicted, and I don't want to just go home and then find it rain and then I get stranded. Definitely do not want that. So just being very cautious, and we will see what happens tomorrow. So we've just managed to drive into town. We had to go a different way because a lot of the roads where I am staying at the moment, they have now been blocked off. So it was a bit of a zigzag way to get in here, but we did make it. We're just doing a few little stops first, and then we're going to attempt to try to get into my estate and check out my house. That was the footy ground.
No, now they're stuck.
Someone trying to get through the flood water. Will they make it?
We were going to try. We're just watching. Oh, it's down the exhaust pipe.
We're a bit scared to try.
Is he coming back?
He looks like he's now stopped.
He's back and back, maybe. It's all gone in his exhaust pipe.
Now he's going backwards. So I'm thinking that is a failed crossing. Thank you. Mail came. So I just moved the sandbags from the front door so I could actually get in. And now I will go in and survey. So now it's time to open the door and hopefully see no damage. Everything looks pristine. So it's near the end of another big day, and I was so happy that I was able to make it into my estate today, and we didn't have to go through floodwater to get there, and everything is looking pretty good considering how bad that it was. And the even better side of all of this was that my house was absolutely fine. I checked every room, I checked inside, outside, everything. It all just looks exactly the way that I left it. So I couldn't be happier, and I couldn't have asked for anything more. I think some kind of magic or something was on my side this time, because I think that that was a pretty close call with having a great big crash with Mother Nature. But thankfully she decided to leave me alone. So hopefully very soon I will be able to get back home. I've decided that even though everything is okay at my house at the moment, I'm going to stay in my caravan for another few nights, and that's because there is a lot of rain predicted. So I don't want to go home and get all set up and then as soon as I'm all set up have massive rains and another flood, because that is a possibility. So I just want to make sure that I can check out what the rain is doing, how the river is going, and then if it all seems okay, then I will go home. But I'm still very, very cautious on returning home, and that's okay. That's just how it is at the moment. And I really am quite happy where I am in my little caravan. Got myself all set up, so I couldn't ask for anything else with the accommodation that I have been provided with. So today is the day when I'm pretty much just watching the weather all day to see what happens with these rains. It did rain a little bit this morning, but it's now lunchtime and it seems to have stopped. So that all looks pretty promising so far. I'll just keep watching and waiting and see what happens, and hopefully it's all good. You might be able to hear the rain on the roof as I'm speaking. But the rain today has really, it's just been little bits on and off, nothing major at all. So all is looking very good. Hopefully the river goes down a little bit further and we'll just see what happens tomorrow. Although there has been a lot of turmoil during me having to leave my house, I really have to say that because of the people that I was with, it really has made it a lot easier. And even though there has been a bit of turmoil and a bit of stress for me, I think that I've come out of it pretty good, and I really have had some very good and some very funny times while I've been here. I've travelled down roads and seen different areas that I would never have seen otherwise. I have seen a very cool general store. I have seen where they're setting up a medical cannabis growing situation, farm kind of thing. So once that gets going, that will be a benefit to a lot of people. And then I've seen some bad things as well, such as, well, basically it's a battery farm for calves, where they put them in these tiny little, they look like beehives, and just feed them and feed them and feed them while they're trapped in these little houses until they're nice and fat, and then they sell them. So I was not very impressed at all to see that. But apart from that, everything has been pretty good. I've been very comfortable, and we just go onwards and upwards from here. Usually there is no water over the other side of the road. This is running down one of the edges of the estate that I live in. So usually there's just a gravel path that you can walk from one end of the road all the way down to the end of the estate. And this is just one giant lake at the moment, and all of that water made it all the way up to the houses that I'm walking in front of right now. So here we are on day 8 of this story, and today, late morning, I returned home, and I will be returning home for good because I feel comfortable and safe that everything is now okay. So I have cleaned up my house, put everything back except for a freezer which is sitting in the middle of a lounge room, but everything is back in its place. So I have my tables and my benches and my bed and everything back so that I can use it again. So after I did all of that cleaning, I have decided to come for a walk and just do a lap around the estate just to see what's going on. And I've come back to the place that is the closest to my house. And as you can see, it is still pretty flooded, and there's that fence and a gate that you can only just see the top of them, but the whole rest is just one big flood, really. So that will take a while to go back into the river, but at least it's all back to where it was when I first went having a look on it was about, I think it was 8 days ago. So yes, 8 days ago, this is where we were, and 8 days later, this is where we are back to. So hopefully the weather is nice to us and we don't get any more crazy weather, and the water will just keep on receding day by day, and we'll be able to have access to everything like we used to, and life continues on as normal. But now that I'm home, I will be trying to do everything as normal as possible and just working through this, avoiding places obviously that I can't walk through or drive through, and that's it really. Back to life, onwards and upwards. And just a last little thank you to my friend and her family who took me in for 8 days. I still can't believe you actually did that, and I'll be forever grateful. Thank you. So I think this is the end of my story of Brooke versus the flood. I've come out of it very well. I've managed to stay very well. I've had no extra symptoms of anything that is wrong with me or that plays up in my body. Everything has been very stable, which I actually can't believe that it has been so good. But I think a lot of that had to do with me being able to stay somewhere that I was very comfortable with, and that I was able to continue my normal routines and my normal foods and all of that kind of stuff. So I wasn't upsetting my body too much along this rocky ride that it has been. I do have a number of bruises from where I kept on crashing into parts of the caravan because I'm a bit clumsy. And I do have 46 mosquito bites on my legs, But really, those two things are a small price to pay for what could have happened and what disaster could have happened to my house. Thank you for watching my story, and I'll see you in the next video.